About 2 years ago, something like a revelation occurred in my life that made me completely reconsider and reevaluate my views on relationships. Today, I want to share this thought with you. There has never been a random woman in your life. If you carefully examine the details, it becomes clear how many different circumstances aligned for you to meet and connect with this particular person. From the perspective of probability theory, such coincidences seem impossible. What does this mean? It indicates that your meeting is not a coincidence, it has a specific purpose. And it would be illogical to assume that this purpose is merely to spend time together casually. You didn't meet just to watch movies in the evenings. The true purpose of a relationship lies in the moral development of a person. And it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, this is how it works. This is the conclusion I have come to. It's very easy to predict how certain relationships will end. For example, if a man is prone to lust and doesn't try to fight it, he will always choose a promiscuous woman. After all, he simply won't feel any interest in a decent one. In this way, he programs his own future. Sooner or later, such a woman will betray him or simply leave for someone else. It's often noticeable when a man is in a relationship with an openly promiscuous woman, and the question inevitably arises, doesn't he see it? Doesn't he understand the consequences of such a relationship? The problem is that, even if he wanted to, he wouldn't be capable of choosing a modest woman. They simply wouldn't be able to get along. He would quickly get bored, and it would all fall apart. If a man is egocentric and irritable, he won't be able to choose a kind-hearted woman. And even if he does, it won't last long, because, lacking boundaries, he will quickly start to suppress her, and eventually, he'll leave her himself. So, who can he be temporarily happy with? Who is he capable of falling in love with? Only with a woman he fears. She will be the one to raise her voice at him, and he will obey her. But as soon as she completely subdues him, and it's only a matter of time, she will mercilessly leave him. When you see a wife humiliating her husband in a store, a mall, or even just on the street, or yelling at him over the phone, the thought arises, why does he put up with it? But if you think about it, what's the alternative? Should he meet a gentle, compliant woman only to destroy her emotionally within a year? No, he needs to meet the most audacious woman so that she can at least partially keep him in check. If a man is prone to vanity and superficiality, he tends to choose the worst and most cynical women. I even have a theory as to why this happens. Vanity isn't just the desire to stand out or rise above others, it's the drive to belittle everyone around. Essentially, it's an expression of malice, and it's precisely such a malicious woman that he is destined to meet and deeply fall in love with. She will be beautiful, striking, prestigious, and artistic, but inside, she'll be cruel. Her true nature will reveal itself to him later. And in the end, she won't just leave him, she will crush him emotionally and humiliate him. Let's take the most common scenario. You're a decent guy, but the girl told you she doesn't love you anymore. How should you understand this? It's quite simple. You chose her based on the feeling of infatuation, and she left you because that feeling faded. In other words, you might seem like the victim here, and no one would argue with that. But the motivation behind both your actions is the same. You're still drawn to her, you want to keep going, but she no longer does. Here's what it comes down to. The woman a man chooses often reflects the same moral flaws that he has, only doubled or even tripled in intensity. Look closely at the woman you fell in love with, and you'll realize, her 2 or 3 worst traits are most likely present in you as well. If someone had told me all of this when I was 18, during the time I spent over a year suffering because of a woman, I wouldn't have just disagreed, I probably would have been outraged. What are you even talking about? I would have thought. I'm sincere with her, I love her, and she cynically and mercilessly plays with me. Back then, I saw myself as almost a martyr in that story. But what was the reality? If I had been a good person, I wouldn't have wasted my time on her. If I truly knew how to love, I would have chosen someone who needed my love and would have gladly accepted it. If I had moral principles, I would have quickly seen her true nature. But all of this was hidden from me. It turns out the situation was the same. I was driven by passion, I fell for her, and she was also driven by passion, losing and regaining interest in me, and that was it. It's very easy to picture yourself in different roles. In one story, you're the villain who left a good girl because you lost interest, thinking, "That's just how it happened." In another, you're the kind-hearted person who sincerely loved a woman, only for her to cause you pain. And what conclusion does a person draw from this? Well, I've been through that in my youth too. I'm not a bad person. Sure, I hurt someone, sorry, that's just how it went. Someone hurt me, well, it happens. But it's crucial to understand, all of this is an illusion. Being a victim doesn't make you a good person. If every man who was left by a woman were given a kind, decent girl, most of them would lose their sense of humanity within a year. But many fail to recognize this. If you've just been left, it's an experience, a lesson that forces you to reevaluate your approach to relationships and your criteria for choosing a partner. It's an opportunity to learn to value entirely different qualities. Until you've learned this lesson, you'll keep encountering women similar to the one who hurt you. This scenario will repeat itself until you take control of your life. The question isn't about what you did wrong in the relationship, but rather about who you are now. If you're driven by lust, external beauty, and passion, you're on a direct path to a world of suffering. If you don't understand this the first time, there will be a second, and if not the second, then a third, and so on until you stop blindly trusting your feelings. Otherwise, every time you'll be torn apart, left to pick up the pieces of your heart. What should you do? You need to develop certain qualities within yourself. Without them, building a relationship with a good woman will be impossible. You'll simply find her boring. Resilience, so you won't be tempted by infidelity. Emotional control, so you won't unleash anger on a good woman who won't be able to fight back. Gratitude, because a good woman won't demand your respect, it has to be your conscious decision. If you don't develop these qualities, a problematic woman will always take the place of a good one. But here's the good news. Meeting a good woman is almost always preceded by a period of suffering. The reasons for this may vary, but from my observations, the best relationships are often preceded by the worst ones. So, if you're experiencing pain right now or have recently been through it, don't worry. It's just part of the journey toward something better. Don't forget to use this experience to build strong and healthy relationships. And the best way to do that is by following my channel. Subscribe and don't forget to hit the like button.